Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, good morning and welcome to another market open stream and happy Monday. Today, we got to talk about what's going on with Bitcoin, of course, and the broader market. What do we have to look forward to this week? And let's look at those pesky charts, some of which are saying buy, buy, buy. Some major buy signals detected. So let's talk about all these things and more. All right, let's do it. Welcome, guys. We're starting out the day higher. That's good. Let's just leave it at that. 55.4, which is roughly like, $1,000 higher than last night when I was doing my Sunday walk. But, we're still in the mid-50s, and I know that a lot of people are still quite depressed about that. But hey, we will get through it. We always do. We're in a historically bad month for crypto and for markets. But today we are opening up in the green, deep in the green. Will this hold? Well, there's a couple things to worry about this week. Number one, a lot of people are still looking at Japan, still worried that this carry trade may still unwind and bring markets down, right? Especially since Bank of Japan is still indicating that they want to continue to raise their rates, which will strengthen the yen against the dollar, which will cause more carry trade volatility, right? So we don't know. I don't know if this is going to be this week or next week or this month, but that is definitely something still on people's minds because this is really what kind of like brought everything down since last month, right? So we have this still, in the back of our minds, wondering if that's going to hit. But as for economic news in the U.S. for this week, we do have two major inflation readings. This is what I talked about yesterday in my Sunday walk video. We have CPI and PPI. Both are quite important, and both will be looked at heavily and scrutinized by Wall Street, by analysts, and by this guy right here that you see, Powell, right? What is he going to do with that data? There is no other Fed speakers this week because we are in the final week before the next FOMC meeting, right? Which will happen September 18th. Right now, as it stands, 75% for 25 basis points, 25% for 50 basis points. So right now, it does not seem like we will get that 50 basis point. However, if these inflation readings go down drastically, lower than expected, okay, maybe that's going to help because Powell, wants to see that inflation rate low, really, really low. And plus, not that I want to see it, but if the carry trade causes more disruptions and volatility this week, that will definitely push it higher too. But as it stands right now, 25 basis point is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, some are arguing if we get that 50 basis point, it's actually a bad thing. We actually don't want a 50 basis point cut because that would indicate that the economy is way worse than expected and we will fall into that recession that so many people have called for. So like this, for example, a 50 basis point cut could cause alarm for Bitcoin, 10x research warned. Again, it's that reason, right? So it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, you want the rate cuts to come quickly and as much as possible, but it's also one of those things like, hey, if you get too much of it too quickly, it could actually cause panic. And that's what we don't want. We don't want more panic at this point, right? So I think ultimately 25 basis points for this first one is good. And then we have 3 more remaining this year. And if there's cuts in all of them, that's like a 1 percentage point cut before the end of the year. That would be absolutely amazing if you think about it. So there's no need to rush, right? I guess is what I'm saying. And I agree with these analysts. Anyways, so that's what we have to look forward to this week. There could be some volatile days leading up, to Friday and the FOMC meeting coming up next week, right? But what about other things that could affect Bitcoin this week? Well, ETFs. ETFs had horrible outflows for last week, right? I showed you guys this, especially from like the likes of Fidelity and Bitwise. Look at all those reds across the board. September 3rd, almost every single fund had red outflows, right? And these are massive. 287 million, 211 million, 170 million, 175 million. But the good thing is, out of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, there is one that's holding strong, and that's BlackRock. BlackRock did not have any outflows. Unfortunately, on a 29-day did, but they tried their hardest. They just couldn't. Larry Fink couldn't make it happen. But besides that, while all the funds are selling, not BlackRock, right? BlackRock also took in a massive 224 million not too long ago, too, on August 26th, when others were still outflowing, right? So, bottom line is, yes, we have had a lot of outflows from these ETFs, right? But it's important to remember we still have plenty of Bitcoin inside those ETFs. They have accumulated quite a lot. And we have Larry Fink leading the way at $21 billion worth of Bitcoin. And even though the others did have outflows, still, Fidelity still holds $10 billion of the Bitcoin. Between ARK and Bitwise, you're still talking about $2.5 billion of Bitcoin. And look at the iShares Ethereum Trust at $1 billion. Right? All these that you see in green and yellow, you add it all up, we're talking about like $50+ billion now being held in these ETFs. But ETFs, they come and go. Sometimes they go in, sometimes they go out. Last week has been pretty bad in terms of outflows. However, let's not forget, it didn't offset all the inflows. And as the market continues forward and recovers, and we finally get that parabolic zone hitting, and we make that next leg up, there will be a lot more inflows. A lot more inflows. Okay, so ETFs so far doing what they're supposed to, taking in a whole lot of Bitcoin for the institutions and retail investors, right? And they will be going higher. Now, the smart money, the big money, they are accumulating. They have been accumulating while the small fish has been selling, unfortunately, right? So you look at this, since September 1st, so it's only 8 days, 3 whales accumulated 157 million from Binance at an average price of 55,800. So what are they doing? They are loading up, right? Despite the fact that, hey, it's still volatile. There's still uncertainty. There always is. Every cycle, every moment of every cycle, something hits. There's always some FUD. Some large player selling off, or there might be a war that's coming, or there's some kind of black swan event, or now there's like carry trade issues. Every single cycle we deal with something new, something we haven't seen, right? But guess what? Every single cycle, Bitcoin gets stronger, forms a higher high and higher low. A lot of people don't quite seem to understand that. A lot of people come in, they just don't see it. They only see it from top to bottom. They never see anything else. But once you do, once you understand, you realize that Bitcoin is pure. It does not care. It does not have emotions. It doesn't fall for FUD. It only grows and gets stronger because the miners and the people that are holding does so too. and because it has a set supply and that inflation rate keeps getting cut in half, ultimately the price goes up because there's more demand than supply. It's really that easy to understand. 94% of Bitcoin has been mined. For the next 100 plus years, 116 years, 2140, I believe, is when Bitcoin will be done in terms of inflation. There's only 6% left to be fought for over the next 116 years. The vast majority of Bitcoin has been mined already. And out of the 19.7 million, we got at least 5 to 8 million lost forever. So the whole world is fighting for something that's very scarce. Very, very scarce. Especially when you have like BlackRock and others that are buying billions upon billions upon billions. So ultimately, when you realize this, that Bitcoin is the scarcest asset that we have, you realize this is one that you just keep on holding and accumulating and you don't ever sell. And, you know, we got a lot of examples of that. A lot of companies that are now embracing that, of course. We've heard of Metaplanet in Japan. Now, Japan's largest power company, TEPCO, is mining Bitcoin using surplus energy. A lot of other places are doing the same thing. I mean, everyone wants a piece of Bitcoin. Everyone wants to buy more cheaply while they can before things come back, right? Just really that simple. All right, what about these bullish charts that are flashing buy signal? There are so many. So many. Here's one from Matthew Hyland showing that the weekly RSI is at the lowest level since January of 2023. I'd say that's a pretty telling story because how high was Bitcoin in January 2023? Well, if you look at this, the last time was when Bitcoin was still around $20,000. And the time after that was when Bitcoin was at 27,000, and that was before we rallied to $73,000, right? We are as oversold as Bitcoin at 20 and Bitcoin at $27,000. So I'd say that's a pretty good buy signal right there. If you were just looking at even long term, this is weekly scale, right? We are as oversold as Bitcoin as at $27,000. That is example number one. Example number two here. Joe is saying if you look at bullish divergence on the daily chart, we haven't seen this flash bull since August of 2023. Again, going back to 2023. You see a lot of those bears, right? a lot of bears, a lot of warnings. But since then, we haven't really seen anything. We have a bull signal right now, flashing by. So that's another one. Here's another one, of course. You're looking at long term. Well, every single cycle, like I've said, every single cycle we see a lot of these like sell-off periods, volatile periods. We see it all the time, okay? But this is just looking at basically these consolidation periods where right before Bitcoin breaks through its previous high, you go through these consolidation periods 3 to 6 months. Every single time. Every single time. And you see RSI actually break down during those times. And then what happens? Then you have that massive parabolic rally, right? And that's coming. That's coming. Here's another one. Just looking at September's overall. September's overall haven't been good, right? Historically, the worst month for Bitcoin and crypto, and for stocks too. We're a week in. We still got 3 more weeks of this. But for the last 4 years, keep in mind, we had Fed Chair Powell raise rates. Not just him. Every country around the world for the last 4 years have raising rates too. Now, for the first time, we will get cuts. Cuts for the remaining of this year, cuts for next year, and possibly the year after that. So even though September has been historically the worst month, hey, that could change, right? And again, what follows historically the worst month, historically the best month, October, is when Bitcoin has its greatest month ever. And that leads into the Santa rally, right? So that's also coming up. And then lastly, I'll show you this, the rainbow price chart. This has been pretty good. Pretty good in terms of finding out when a fire sale is happening, when Bitcoin is dead, when is it buy. Surprisingly, right now, where it is right now at 55.5, Bitcoin is in a fire sale. And if you don't load up while you can at these levels, you will certainly regret it when we go back up to maximum bubble territory. And we may even break out of the top end this time around. This is, if I'm looking at this right, this is projecting Bitcoin to be somewhere around here, which is like maximum bubble territory would put like Bitcoin up to anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million. That's what this is showing. I don't know if Bitcoin could go that high, but if it does, no one's going to be complaining. All right, that's it. Let's do some Q&A. The U.S. market is still doing pretty well. Nvidia, MicroStrategy, Coinbase, they're up today. They all brutally sold off on Friday, which is disappointing, but having a little recovery day today, which is good. Alabaster, 10 gifted memberships. Thank you for that. Craig Smith above says, what's going on with WBTC being 25% of BTC depth chart and the sell pressure is double the buy right now? And is Justin Sun manipulating this market right now? I can't tell you about the first part. The depth chart, the sell pressure is double the buy pressure. Keep in mind, it's synthetic Bitcoin, right? So WBTC, wrap Bitcoin is on ETH. If there's something major on ETH and people need to get money out, you tend to see something like that where the sell pressure is a lot more than buy pressure, right? So I can only speculate. And then as for the second thing, it's Justin Sun manipulating the market right now. He always does with Tron. That has always been the case. Is this Blue Label? No, it's a little bit too early for that. And it's not the right occasion. Steve Hobbs, Sol will be well over $1,000 a year from now. I genuinely believe that. I think Sol could top out around $2,000 by the end of this bull cycle. And that would place it above Ethereum at number 2. I think that could be possible. Sound is no good. What's wrong with sound? Let me see. My sound looks okay. What's wrong with my sound? Yeah, a lot of people are saying sound is fine. I don't know what happened there. Crossy reckons you're a legend. Well, thank you. Is ATI protocol dead? I hope not. Actually, in terms of AI, I couldn't help but notice that ASI is now climbing the charts. Look at ASI here at number 27 at $3 billion. You know, today is the Apple iPhone day. So if something gets big announced with AI, that could certainly drive this higher. Overall, NVIDIA has been leading the way. I don't think that's going to change. I don't know what's going on with sound. My equipment shows sound is being registered and it's good. So I don't know if it's just YouTube. Maybe you guys just have to refresh. Yeah, people are saying it's YouTube, just refresh. Just close out the window, reopen it, and then you'll get a new George with a new sound. Yuga Labs now have new developments. Ape is up finally. I like to see those NFTs, the other side NFTs, do something. I still hold 2, and they have been going to 0, basically. So love to see them climb back up. Thanks for helping me keep a level head in this rock and roll market. You rock. I appreciate that. The sound is fine. YouTube is screwing up. If you guys have a problem with sound, just refresh and all is good. Remember, I don't know if you guys, most of you guys are old enough to remember, like back in the day, the 90s, 2000, when you had problems, just restart your computer, reboot. Nowadays, like how often do you need to reboot? Like never. Unless you have like some update pending and it forces a reboot, you basically never have to reboot. But back in the day, it's like you have to reboot like almost daily because your memory clogs up or Windows crashes or something, right? Today's a pretty good day. Pretty good recovery day. Asia, I was looking at, like this carry trade issue. Japan is still in the red. Europe today, all green. So that's good. This could be a good week. We're starting out the week strong right now. Deputy Dog, didn't you ask me this last week? I honestly don't know why HNT is pumping, but it's good. It helps. It helps Helium and it helps Solana, so why not? Sound Blaster. I remember those Sound Blaster sound cards. Like, it was a thing. You need to get a cool sound card for your computer. Man, things have changed a lot. Ricky says, hey, Jordan, on every show, would you answer a question for free to someone who subscribed to your channel? That's what I've been doing, man. I only get like 2 super chats, and I answer like 100 questions, Ricky. And I just answered your question, even though you probably feel like you wasted that question because it's a non-crypto question. But that's all I do, man. I have to answer super chats. Like people always complain before, like, oh, why do you only answer super chats? Well, people are paying. That's why I have to give them priority. But it doesn't mean I don't answer the other things that I see. Just, you guys got to realize you got 3,000 people in here all chiming in. I can only get to certain ones. And there are certain ones I ignore on purpose because they're just trying to troll or shill. But hey, that's just how it is. Barney just asked me if you could wear this during the next IFC match. I think that is pretty damn big as a growing guard. That's way too big. Imagine us wearing this and walking around in public. David, thank you. Alabaster, thank you again. Ed is asking, what camera am I using? I'm using DJI Pocket 2. It's a really good camera. It's super clear. I love that camera. It's just a little big. It's pretty hefty. But the camera quality is crazy. And the sound too. I use it in my CryptosRUs now too. Sound is great. You should charge people for dumb questions. Yeah. Sometimes I just like wish I could just turn this into a members only chat to kind of remove some of the noise. But I'm not going to do that. Did you like the Santa Fe a lot when driving it? Nick, did you watch the video? If you watch the video, you already know the answer to that question. Why is Monero better than BTC? It's not. Top G, which cold wallet do you use? And is Kraken exchange good for stacking? Stacking or staking? Kraken overall is not bad. One of the biggest in the US. In terms of cold wallet, still like Ledger. Can you moderate the comments? Lots of bot shilling scams. No, I cannot. because we try, me and my team try, but there's always new ones. And YouTube refuses to do something about it. So until they figure it out, you can't. How do you leverage in Blowfin is restricted to US? It's not restricted. Blowfin, JumpX, BitUnix are open to US residents. I use them all. Ricky, why are you attacking Alabaster? Are you aware there's another CryptosRUs channel deepfaking you, promoting scams? Yes. Yes. There's always more. I've reported and removed a lot of them, but more keeps coming up. Again, something that YouTube needs to get better at. Some of these AI channels, they can't even tell it's fake. Like, you report it and they think it's real. But I do what I can to try to get it removed, but there's always more that comes up. So just know, like, it's kind of obvious those AI videos are talking about some, like, Xi coin or whatever coin with some weird symbols, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So just report them or ignore them. That's the best I could say. You're still invited to my yacht party. Okay. Okay. How do we know this is a real George? I may be AI. At some point when AI gets so good, I'll replace myself with AI and then no one's going to know the difference. Someone from China or Taiwan, BDC 2025, 250K. That summarizes it pretty well. I agree with that. Thank you for that super chat. Will you live stream the Fed meeting this month? No, I will not be. I'll actually be in Singapore, so I will not be. Can you speak Mandarin and Cantonese? I can speak a little Mandarin, but not Cantonese. I only know how to curse in Cantonese. You think Pancake Swap can get back to all-time high? It's still the biggest swap on BNB, so yes, I think there's a chance of that. Cake, 433 million. Oof, that's an ugly chart, but can it get back up? Yes, I still think there's a chance. Quite simply because they are the biggest swap on BNB. BNB is still very strong, so there's always a chance. How will we know if we're going to have a super cycle? Well, if we're in 2026 and Bitcoin still has not crashed in a significant way, then you know we're in a super cycle. George, you do have fakers and impersonators, of course. I'm probably one of the most impersonated guys on YouTube. Like, people use really sophisticated AI to like generate videos of me. Like, those AI videos are so good, YouTube can't even tell that they're fake. It's actually quite amazing. And there's no public service that could actually generate AI that good too. I have no idea like what they're doing, but they have some really crazy sophisticated AI tools. Blitzboy Gaming, they're awesome. When do you think Bitcoin will surpass gold in terms of market cap? I think it'll have to be after this cycle. So probably by 2030, 2029, 2030. There's a good chance Bitcoin surpasses gold's market cap. George, I sent you a message to see if you want to be in my music video. You did not answer. I didn't see that. And to be quite honest, I'm flattered, but I'm going to decline. Sean, I'm not going to tell you that. Don't ask stalker-ish questions. Why would I tell you which hotel I'll be staying at? A lot of people don't know the concept of privacy. A lot of people just ask very deep personal questions and they think it's an innocent question, but they don't really realize it. All right, guys, that's enough for this morning. We're still climbing upwards, still heading higher. Today, we're starting out the week pretty good overall. But it's going to get better. It's going to get better. So I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.